Hi there, welcome to Teachers Tech. My name is Jamie and it's great to have you here. In today's video tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at intermediate Microsoft Excel. So this is lesson 1 in my intermediate Microsoft Excel series, and we're going to be covering 3 different topics today. We're going to be looking at how to create a pivot table with graphing. We're going to be looking at the VLOOKUP function, how to be using it. And we're also going to be looking at how to create a multiple dependent dropdown in Microsoft Excel. So all these are going to be timestamped down below so you can jump to different parts of this lesson. So let's get started with the first one with pivot tables in Microsoft Excel. If you would like to follow along with today's tutorial, I'll put the links to the worksheets that I'm using down below in the description. Then you can click on the link, download, open them up, and follow along as I'm showing you in today's tutorial. Also, it would help me out a lot to know if these tutorials are helping you by hitting that like button, or maybe even leaving a comment down below what you're looking for in future intermediate lessons too. So make sure you do hit that subscribe button and that notification, then you get notified when my next tutorials do come out. So we're starting with how to create a pivot table, and this is the data that we're using here. If you haven't downloaded this yet, just hit pause on the video, go to that link I mentioned before and download it and open it up. Now, to do an insert, it's very simple. You just go up to the menu and hit insert, and below in the ribbon, you're going to see pivot tables right away. As I go through these pivot tables, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks also. And I'm going to start with a tip right away. And the first tip is to select inside anywhere in the range or the table, if you're using a table, before you go and click on pivot table. Because what it does, it automatically finds the range for you. So here's an example. If I go up to pivot tables, notice that they have some recommended pivot tables here. I'm going to cancel and click out, and I click on recommended again, and it doesn't know. Now I could still select my table or range from here and it'll be fine. But just as a quick tip, if you select inside of it and pick pivot table or recommended pivot tables, it's going to know where the data is coming from. Now, I just want to mention a little bit about the recommended pivot tables. This is a quick way to create them. Usually they're pretty accurate with probably the main ones that you would want, but you can see where it goes sum of unit cost by region, sum of unit cost by item. It does some recommendations based on the data and the titles that they think that you would want. So you can always start with recommended pivot tables and choose one of them, but we're going to be going from pivot table on it. So, and after we go through pivot table, you'll understand after you insert the recommended pivot tables, you can still make the same changes. So I'm just going to go ahead, click pivot table, and you can see that right away, since I'm clicked inside of the range here, that it has the sheet and the range from A1 to G44 here. Now, where do you want this pivot table to go? So this is important. Do you want a new worksheet or do you want it to be on the same worksheet? So I'm going to go new worksheet, and so it's going to open up another tab. You can choose what you want to do on that, or you can set a different location here. So you can also choose whether you want to analyze multiple tables, and I'm not doing that in this case, but I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And what you get, if I look down at the tab at the bottom, you can see I have a new sheet right here. And now they're asking me to start building my report by selecting my different fields to put onto it. So now we have to be selecting our pivot table fields, and if we look over on the right, and it can be done very quickly. So if I go ahead and I'll just click on sales rep, and what you notice is it gets put into rows, and now the names are going to go down this column, and then the data, as I select it, would be put into rows. You can quickly change this. So I could drag it into columns, and now the names are going to go across the top, and we are going to have our information below it in the columns. Now we can quickly turn this off and on, the sales rep. So if I click off of it, it goes away. We can drag these down too. So if I drag this into a spot, I could drag it around into columns. You can see how easy it is to manipulate. So I have another tip here that I want to give you. So this is kind of the default setup here with the fields down below where you drag into. If you go up to the gear here and tools and drop down, you can pick a different way to view it. So I prefer this one right here. I'm just going to select it, and we get these on the side here with our different fields that we can just drag across. Now that's up to you, what you prefer. And the other thing I want to point out with, if we go back to it, you can sort your fields A to Z. So if you go ahead and select it, you can see how it changes it. Now this, if you had a lot of different fields, this would just make it easier to find them. So just remember those couple tips right there. Okay, let's add some more things to this now. So we're going to have our sales rep here, and I want this in columns. And I'm going to place it here so you can see some of the ones are hiding right now. And the other thing I want to add, so let's go ahead and add our totals. And you can see as I click on different ones, how quickly it starts to change. So I can click on and off. I'm going to go ahead and click on units. It shows all my sums of units here. But what I want is to have items. So when I click my items, now I do want this in rows, it places them down here. So now if I pick my units, it fills in. So I can see each person. So if I look at Dwight's, I can look at per binder, per desk, and all the different items, and it gives me the grand total there. So these are just some different ways you can get some quick, your report being built by selecting the fields. So did you notice if you click out of the data that the pivot table fields go away? So click back in and they reopen here. Now, I want to point out, just if you're adding more fields, let's try, I'm going to add a region here. So if I click on region, you can see it added it to the rows at first, and then it's going to be breaking down this way. It breaks down the binder and based on the central, north, and south where it was being sold in different places. Now, if I bring this over to columns, you can see now that it's going to go across the top. It's kind of breaking it between the different salespeople. So in the case of someone like Erin, you can see that she sold in the central and north, while Dwight only sold in the central here. So go ahead, try different things. Try adding, by selecting different ones, seeing how it works to get the different reports on it, and then moving from rows to column to see the ways you can adjust it. Now, another way you can adjust it is to sort. And if I look over here, you can see that we have a drop down, and this is going to help me sort. So in this case, this is going to sort my column labels, which are the sales reps here. And if I drop down, I can go ahead and select individual ones. So if I said, okay, let's deselect, and I'm going to go and let's compare Dwight, and I'm going to compare Jim and hit OK. And you can see that we have the two right here, and I can look side by side to see their totals of their items being sold. If I wanted to see total of amounts in different ones, I could pick a different thing to add from over here to add it, and you can see how quickly it can adjust. So if you drop down again, I could select everything, hit OK, and everything goes back on. I can select this way too. So if I wanted to sort a little bit more, if I didn't want to see all the different items, maybe I just wanted to see paper, I could hit OK. And now I'm just seeing paper and I see the salesperson. So it makes it easy to look at that way. So go and try a few different ways to sort. Now I want to show you how you can actually build an individual report, and it will create a new tab down below for each sales rep, or depending on what you're creating. And it's done with only a few clicks. So before I show you how to create a tab for each salesperson, I wanted to point out the use of filters. So let's say in this data with the units, I just want to see by region also, and I like to filter through there. So if I go and take region and put it in filters, you can see up top, I can simply now drop down and I could be looking for a certain region or zone. So if I wanted to see in central, I hit OK, and I just get those results back. You can also see that you can select multiple. So if you want it more than one, or switch it back. It's easy to add more than one filter, or even move from different ones. I could take this sales rep here and move it up. And now I can sort by region and sales rep. So if I was looking for, let's say in the north, and I'm going to also choose a sales rep, I'll choose Pam, hit OK. I can see in the north, she sold this many. If I was going to go back and check out a different region, at this point, you can see now she hasn't got anything in the south. So I just wanted to point out the use of filters, but now I want to show you how you can use the filters to create a tab for each salesperson in this example. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect the items that I have here, and I'm going to build another report. And remember, I want a new tab for each one, for each salesperson. So I do need a total, and this is going to go into the values here. I do want the item there so I can see the item beside the total here. And we're going to need the sales rep. And I'm going to actually add this to the filter. So I'm just going to drag it into the filter like this. Now, something else I want to point out is to format your numbers here. So if I go and just select in here, I can right click and number format. So maybe you want it in accounting or currency. You can see the different examples that goes through. So if I wanted 2 decimal places and to look like this, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And you can see how it formats it. You can choose the format that you would like. The other thing I want to show you is if I right click on this, you can sort this. So maybe I wanted it from smallest to largest or largest or smallest or some more. I'll just go largest to smallest, just like this. So some things that you can do to it. Now, what I want to do is generate the individual reports on each tab. If I go ahead and drop down and go to options right here, and you can see show report filter pages. So when I select this, we're going to get show report filter pages. If I go ahead and hit OK now, it's going to go ahead. And if I look at the bottom, so if I look, there's Andy's, there's Dwight's, there's Aaron, I'm going to get an individual report for each salesperson. And you could adjust it depending on what you want. So I wanted to make sure you understood how you could do that very simply inside the pivot table fields. So I'm just going to go back. You can see as I go through these different ones, I'm just going to go back to the original pivot table that I was working on here. And I just want to show you a couple other things and some more tips. Now, let's say I was curious where this 2,135.14 number came from. If you double click on a number, so I'm just going to double click on this number, it opens this up and shows how that number was created by all of this information. So that was by a double click. It opened up a new sheet when I did it. You can see there's a sheet 16 beside it now. So just try double clicking on a number and it's going to show you how it's even broken down more. Now, some other things I want to show you with formatting, and usually things can be done in a few different ways. I'm going to just show you if I go down to values here, right here, and just drop down, you can see that there's value field settings. You can also get to value field settings if you right click on them too. You can see value field settings right here. So if I go ahead and choose this settings here, value field settings, let's say I could say an average account. If I was doing a count, hit OK. Well, the dollars don't make any sense anymore, but it's just counting up. Here it would be 15 rather than $15. So depending on what you were trying to show in your pivot tables, remember that we have value settings and you can change what you want right through here. So I'm going to leave this as sum. Now, another thing I want to show you when you're right clicking is if you right click, you can show values as. So I find this is a cool way to show percentage. So do we want, you try a few different ones. So if I say percentage of row total, column total, let's say column total, I can see that the binders make up 48%. The pens will make up 21%, and it just shows you in a different way. So all these different reports can be generated, and remember you're right clicking to get to more of these here. So I just go back to no calculation and it's gone. So now I want to show you how you can apply some conditional formatting to your pivot table numbers here before we get into the graphing and charting. So let's say if we want this to be like a data bar through here. So what I need to do is go back up to the Home tab up top here and look under conditional formatting. If I drop down, you can see we can apply all these different things, but we're looking at the data bars. And if I hover over, notice it's just doing the cell that I'm selected in. And I want it to be applying to all of them. In this case, just go to more rules right here. And you can see apply rule to only that cell. No, we want it to apply to that a cell showing the sum of total values here. So if I select this one here, that will do the trick. Now, the other thing, do you want the numbers to be shown? So right now it will show both, or do you want it to be just the bar only? So I can go and pick a color now, and it will preview down below. So maybe I pick an orange, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now I have a data bar applying to these different ones. So just different way to show, show your reports that you can add conditional formatting to them. Okay, let's move over to graphing or charting our pivot tables now. So let's say you want to chart your pivot table report just to make it look a little bit better, a little bit easier for people to just take that quick glance and know what's happening. So I'm just going to select inside of this here, and I'm going to go up to Insert and take a look. We have Pivot Chart right here. We do have the drop down. I'm just clicking on it here, and right away, so it defaulted to the column. I can pick, just get an idea maybe of different ones, how it looks here, just by going through. I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to create a pie chart here. You can see up top, if I wanted to see a different view, I can hover over to get the view to try any of these different ones. I'm going to just keep it to the pie right now. Okay, so now just hit OK on it, and I have this in here. I can move it around. I can size it if I wanted to differently, if you wanted it larger here. Now, I want to point out this is dynamic, so I can take a look at different things. So if I wanted to take the look at the sales rep here, maybe I wanted to compare different ones, I could select multiple. Maybe I just wanted to pick one. So if I pick Michael Scott, I can see just the one person's here. So it's going through finding the information and breaking it down for me. You can see the items are over here. So if I go back, I can go and select all, and it puts it back again. So you can sort using the chart to give those quick looks. I can drop down here also, and if I wanted to maybe deselect, if I just wanted two things here. So if I had paper and desk, hit OK, and it just compares the two different ones. So you can do all these different things within the chart still, just like we were doing just with the data before. So, but you can apply this to the chart. So now what I wanted to show you too, you can make this customize this look. If you just double click in it, if this wasn't open, this format chart area, just double click on it and it will open it up. You can see I can quickly start to change things, whether I want it to be maybe a gradient fill. You can see how the background changes. I can adjust my colors down here if I wanted to add different ones. If I wanted a pattern fill, you can play with all these different options. We have our text options also here. So if you wanted to change different fonts and colors, you can adjust all those things. So if I go ahead and select, maybe I wanted this to be differently, I can even drop down. So that's the chart title. Or if I wanted maybe the legend here, you can see how it selects different things. So I could go ahead, maybe I'll add, I can change the fonts like this. If I wanted the legend to be positioned differently, I can start to change things all around. So all these different things that you can play with to get the chart looking how you want. You can move these inside too. So if I wanted to place these in different places, again, you can size your chart differently to get it the way you want. So I hope you like this this intermediate pivot tables. I'm going to do more about pivot tables in future lessons, just because there's more that you can do with this. I thought this would be a good start for you if you kind of just maybe touch the surface to them before, or maybe haven't used them at all either. So now we're ready to move on to our next section. So now I want to show you how to use VLOOKUP in Microsoft Excel. VLOOKUP is a very powerful function that you can use to look up something in a column vertically. That's where the V is going to come from. So it looks down a column that you set, because it's going to be the furthest left, and then it returns some item in that corresponding row. So in this case here, I already have VLOOKUP in this cell already created. I'll create a new one here. If I just go ahead and select this cell, you can see in the formula bar, it's already there. But what it's going to go through, so it looks at GOTC right here, and it finds, I told it to go down the furthest left of the selection, and this is this vertical column here. It finds GOTC. Then I told it to look up the in that row the salary here. So it gave me back 68,000. So let me just change it. So instead of C, I'm just going to go put I here, and it returned 58,000. So it went over to the furthest left here of the range that I selected, and it went down and it found GOTI right here, and it went across and found $58,000. So this is a small data set here. If this was a large one, you would probably see how much more powerful this is. But if you have thousands of employees and you're looking up something like this, with this formula, you can simply just do those searches really, really quickly. Now, something I just wanted to point out here with VLOOKUP, I was just taking a look at the XLOOKUP function, because XLOOKUP has a few more capabilities to it. With VLOOKUP, you can only look to the right, but XLOOKUP, you can actually look left or right. And with XLOOKUP, you can kind of do the HLOOKUP or VLOOKUP together. So it's something I would recommend if you have a newer version of Microsoft Excel. I do have a video tutorial on that, and I'll put a link in the description down below and up and above in the card. So let's go ahead and start our VLOOKUP and build it for this sheet. And if you haven't got this sheet open, hit pause, download it, and follow along. So we're going to go through the VLOOKUP function a couple times, a couple different examples in two different cells. The first place we're going to put the VLOOKUP function is right in this cell. So what I want to have happen is it's going to look up an employee name and bring me back an employee designation. So it needs to go over to this column here and then look down this column here to find the designation in the same row that it found the employee name. So we're going to start in this one. The first time we're going to go and just go insert function up here. So open up that one, insert function. If you don't see VLOOKUP, just do a quick search. You don't need to type the whole thing here. I'm just going to hit go and then double click on it. So we get our four different arguments here. So the first argument is going to be the lookup value. Well, the lookup value is what the name is that I type into this cell. So this is going to be the lookup cell or lookup value in this cell right here. So I'm going to click in I6, and you can see it put I6 into there. The next is the table array. So I'm going to click in this spot, and the table array is going to be the selection. And remember, it's going to be the furthest left column of that array that is going to search down. So it's going to look for a name here. And so I need to make sure this is the furthest left column, and it is. So I'm going to select here, and I need it to go to at least go to employee designation. It could go all the way to salary if I wanted, but it doesn't need to. But I'm going to leave it right there for this one. Now, the next one is the column index, and this is how it works. So in B, this is the first part of the table or range here. So this is column 1. Even though I have A here, there's nothing in it. This doesn't count. So B is number 1, C is number 2, D is number 3, E is number 4, and F is number 5. So we told it it's going to look down the furthest left of my array, that is this one, and I need it to look down. What's the column I need it to search through? Well, it's going to be D right here, and that's 3 because it's 1, 2, 3. So I need to put 3 in here just like that. So the next thing, what I want to do is type in a true or false. I could leave it blank too, but in this case, I'm going to type false, and that means an exact match. If I put true, it's an approximate match, but I wanted to find an exact match in this case. So I'm going to type in false like so, and I'm going to hit OK. And it came back, notice it came back with NA here. That's because I don't have anything typed in. So let's just type in John here, and we'll type John, and it returns software engineer. So went to the furthest left of the array that I showed, that I selected, and then it went to column 3 and found what was in there. So that's software engineer. So if I go ahead and type Bran here, it went down this column, the furthest left, and then it searched column 3 and brought back analyst. So this is working quite well. You can see it doesn't take a lot to create the VLOOKUP function. One problem is if you're using false, I'll show you the problem. If we go to brand here, and I'm going to just click in here, and let's say there's some spaces, just like that. Notice it went to NA. It's because we are looking for an exact match. And you got to be careful not, if you're using the exact match, not to have spaces. So as soon as I get back, delete that again, and hit enter, you notice it works again. So I just wanted to point this out. Okay, let's run through VLOOKUP one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and recreate the top one from up here for VLOOKUP. Now, the reason I'm going to do this because it's a little different on how to count the columns. So I'm going to go, what do I want to have happen? Well, the VLOOKUP is going to go into this cell. So it's I10. And I'm going to start my function this way this time just by putting the equal sign, then VLOOKUP, and I'm going to choose it right through here. So what is my lookup value going to be? Well, the lookup value is going to be whatever I put into this. So this is going to be the code. And I'm just going to go ahead, click on that cell, I9, and comma. What's going to be my table array on this one? Well, my table array on this one is going to go from the code up here to the salary one here. So there's going to be 4 different columns in there. And then at the next point, I'm going to put my comma. What's my column index? And now this is where things have changed. So remember last time I said B was 1. Now that the array is starting here, this is going to be 1. So C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4. So it's wherever the array is going to be starting on it. So I just wanted to point that out. So what do I need? This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to put 4 for my number on it because this is not selected in it. So I'm going to go ahead, put my comma, and then put my exact match again. And that should be all I need. I'm just going to finish off with a bracket and let's try this out. So if I just put in GOTI, like so, and you can see that GOTI here was $58,000 here. So I just wanted to point out when I was doing the VLOOKUP function this way is making sure that you understood when you count your columns, it's wherever the array starts, that's going to be number 1. And then you move over from there. And then if you have to go back and correct anything, you can just go back. You can either correct it up top here or double click into the cell and it will open up. So if you wanted to change this to true or false, you can move those back and forth or change a different range too. All right, let's get ready to move on to the next section, and that's going to be creating the multiple dependent drop-down list in Microsoft Excel. And I'm actually going to use a VLOOKUP function in that one too. I'll add that at the end. All right, let's go to the next one. So in this section, I want to show you how to create a multiple dependent drop-down list in Microsoft Excel. Now, there's different ways that you can do this. I actually have different videos showing different functions and formulas to create this. I'll put a list of those down below and you can check those out to see if those work better for you. In this one here today that you'll be working through, we're going to be using the unique function and the filter function. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to give you a little demo here to start with. And what it means is when we have a dependent drop-down list, what I choose in here will influence what I get over here. So if I drop down here, it shows the different departments. These different departments are being pulled from this column over here. So if I pick finance here, then my list will change here. So it will change on what I can pick. So there's only accountant in here. So I'll show you if I picked a different one, if I went to security and then drop down, you'll see that I get head of security or the guard. So if I was picking guard and then drop down, I only have one person that's listed as a guard. But if I was going to go back and pick maybe, let's say, marketing, and then I was picking marketing assistant and then drop down, notice that 2 people came up for marketing assistant, and then I could pick one of them and then their salary comes up based on what I picked. So these were all dependent upon what I chose before. And that's what I want to show you how to create today in Microsoft Excel. So the first step here is to be able to pull out the individual market names here. You can see that there's 2 sales here, 3 sales, there's multiple marketing. I don't want it to be written each time. I just want sales to be once and finance to be once. So I just want to be able to have all the different department names. So what I'm going to do is use the unique formula to begin with, and I'm not going to put it in this spot right here. I'm actually going to just put it to the side here, and I'm going to start my formula here. I'm going to be putting all my my unique and filters down in this row, and then I'm going to hide it after so you can't see it. So I'm going to go equals, and then I can start typing unique. You can see as I start typing, it's closer and closer. Here's unique. I'm going to select it. All I need to do is select what I need to be searching, and it's going to be this right here. So I'm just using a range here. If you were using a table, you would be able to select that column by the column's name too, but I'm just using a range. So I'm actually going to just hit enter, and I get my unique different department names. Now, this is what I'm going to be putting in department over here, and this is where I need to use data validation. And where you find this is if you go up to the data tab up top, and then looking in the ribbon, find your data validation. So I'm just going to click on it. And what we need to change it to is list. So allow list just like this. And what is the list going to be? So I'm just going to click on this. It's in this spot here. This is where the list is coming from. And I'm just going to hit enter. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to make a change to this so it works better in a moment. I'm going to hit OK, and watch this, what happens. So I drop down. Notice it only says sales on this. What I could do, I could have selected everything, so it would have shown everything. But what I like to do is, and I'm just going to click on data validation again and open it back up. If you add a hashtag at the end, it will always adapt to how many spaces is in that list that it's pulling. So if I hit OK now and go back, you can see that all of these from here are now in my drop-down list here. So this is the first step that we're going to do. So the next step that I want to have happen, I want to be able to, once I choose sales, then I should be able to only look within the sales job titles that are there. So it should look down this list, and there are repeats of different ones. You can see there's sales assistant and sales manager. So it should find 2 different things. So I am going to be using unique, but I also need to filter it, and I need to connect it to this H2 cell. So let's go ahead and start our unique function formula over here. And to do this, I'm just going to put equals and then start typing unique, and I can see it pop up. But right away, I need to add the filter function. So if I start typing filter, and I need to add this, and what do I need to be looking at the arrays? So I'm going to be comparing this, and I'm just going to select the whole column here. And then I'm going to put a comma. It's going to be comparing to this one here. But when this one equals what? Well, this is where I need to put the equal sign in, not the plus, equals this spot here. So it's going to look down C to see when this connects to here. And then that's the end. So that's one bracket. We have to add another bracket because we have the 2 opening ones there too. So I'm just going to hit enter. And you can see, since I have sales, now it brought back sales manager and a sales assistant. If I drop down and go to marketing, it brought back these 2. Now we're going to do the same thing what we did before. We are going to put the data validation up here. So I go to this spot, I click on data validation, and what am I going to use? Well, I'm going to use a list again. And what's my source going to be? So I can click on this, and I'm just going to click in this cell here, and I'm going to add the hashtag right away, hit enter, and hit OK. So now we should have this marketing manager, marketing assistant. It's pulling from here. So if I change this to finance, and look what we have, there should only be accountant, and you can see it reflected over here. We'll make one more change to make sure it's working. Security, and now we should have this drop down between head of security and guard. Okay, let's move to our next spot. So now we want the names to populate down here based on the guard. So like if we had this selected, it should just choose the one guard that we have in the name list. So how do we do this? Well, the names are all unique already, so we don't have to use the unique function in this one. We'll just use a filter and connect it back to the H2 spot or H3 cell that we already have. So I'm going to go back to my J column and I'm going to put in equals, and we'll use our filter here. And what is it that we're going to be needing? Well, I'm going to need this column right here. And what's going to be the next one? It's going to be the job title. So it's when the job title is equal to what? Well, it's when the job title is equal to whatever's in this cell right here. So now I can go ahead and just close that. And you can see there's the one name. So let's see what happens up here as we choose. If we choose marketing and we choose, let's say marketing assistant, we should have two names right here. So it's pulled the list. So now we have to use our data validation to put it back into the drop-down list here. So I'm just going to select this cell, make sure you're under data, go to data validation, drop down, choose your list, choose your source. It's just going to be this spot here. I'm going to add my hashtag, hit enter, and hit OK. So now I should get those two here. So we have one more step here that we want to add, and we want to be able to connect their salary here. And we're going to do this actually with VLOOKUP, sort of similar to what we did in our last lesson. Now let's use our VLOOKUP function to finish this off by getting the salary connected to the name. So our function is going to go in this cell right here in H7, and we're going to start this with our equal, and we're going to look up for VL, and there it is. I'm going to select it. So what are we looking up? Well, we're going to look up what name is in this cell right here. So I'm going to select it. That's my lookup value. Place my comma. What's my table array? Well, my table array is going to be going from this part up here, the beginning of the names, down to the end of the salary here. Now, our next point is our column index. Now, remember, since employee name is the first column, this is number one. So this is the first column in the array. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to need to have the column index number be 4. So I'm going to put in number 4 like that. And I'll put another comma. And I want it to be false because I want the exact match. And I'll just end this and hit enter. And let's try it out a few times. So if we're dropping down here, and if I was looking in sales, drop down, see the, maybe I want to see sales manager, and drop down here, and I can see Walter White gets $186,556. And the thing I want to point out now, you can see all these things changing in the column J. You can hide this. So what you can do, if you right click at the top of the column here on J, we do have hide here. So it didn't delete it, it just hid it there. So now people won't see the information coming up there. And then you have your multiple dependent drop downs working right through here. And then you have the VLOOKUP function getting that salary from reading this last cell. So like I said before, there's many different ways that you can create multiple dependent drop downs in Microsoft Excel. I do have other ones. I like the XLOOKUP one too. You don't have anything to hide in cells. So take a look at that one. And I have some other ones too. I'll put the links to those, as I mentioned, down below and in the cards. This brings us to the end of this intermediate Microsoft Excel tutorial. Make sure you keep posted for when I have the next ones coming out, and check all the links down below in the description to all those other tutorials that I talked about. Thanks for watching this time on Teachers Tech. I'll see you next time with more tech tips and tutorials.